We still got meetings. We still coming in doing walkthroughs, studying, focus. So it really doesn't change anything.
A lot hasn't changed, but the clocks are changed.
Oh, most definitely. That's the first thing I noticed when I got in here. I thought that I was late for meetings. I look up, I had an extra 5 minutes, so I was good. So that's the only thing that's really changed. But like I said, the approach of the players and coaches are all still the same.
So you saved yourself a fine.
Oh, most definitely.
Oh, boy, they're still having a good time in Jacksonville. Now that VP of Football Operations Tom Coughlin is gone, they set the clocks back 5 minutes because, you know, the Coughlin rule, if you're not 5 minutes early for a meeting, you are late for the meeting. That is now gone because Coughlin is gone. And, look, we talked about this a lot yesterday, Big Cat. My biggest problem with this is the guy was leaving anyway. And I think, and I was told that he was going to announce next week that Week 17 was it for him. They didn't give him a chance to walk away with any shred of his dignity. The guy's won 2 Super Bowls, right? He's a guy who's potentially going to be on the list for Hall of Fame candidates once he's done and once the 5 years go by. They just should have let him walk away. I think if they would have gone to him Wednesday and said, hey, it's over. We'll let you resign or retire today, but it's over today. They didn't do that. I think they should have.
Well, to quote my co-host on Pardon My Take, they fired him on Coughlin time. They fired him a little early, a couple of weeks early, right? But in seriousness, Mike, like the fact that they did this, I think it shows just how bad it had gotten with all these grievances and players getting fined. And I listened to what you said, I think, yesterday, but Doug Marrone will most likely keep his job. So I think making this change and letting everyone know that this was the change that needed to happen and the rest of the program, so to speak, is okay for next year. I think that's a good thing to do. I think that if you were going to fire Doug Marrone and the GM as well, then maybe you do the whole house cleaning Week 17, end of Week 17. But because those guys might keep their job, and it seems like they will, firing Tom Coughlin a little early and sending a message is the right thing to do, and I think it's the smart thing to do. So I totally disagree with you.
I believe they will. But no, my point is, you just let him walk away. Just let him leave now. You don't have to have the pound of flesh. And all those grievances, right, all those legal fights, the Jaguars supported. The Jaguars fought. The Jaguars incurred legal fees. They didn't have any internal debate where they said, you know what, we should let this go. We should settle this. They fought it tooth and nail, and the day they lose, all of a sudden they got to get rid of Tom Coughlin. That's what I didn't like. If you're going to do it, let him walk away. Just let the guy walk away.
No, Mike, it makes sense, though, because it essentially became the front office coaching staff versus the players. When you get Tom Coughlin, you might say it's not right, but I understand the move because what they're doing is they're sending a clear message that Tom Coughlin was the problem. Tom Coughlin was the one who was spearheading these grievances and these fines, and we're getting rid of him, and we're becoming a player-first organization. We're going back to that. I think that's why they did that, and it makes sense in my mind.
Yeah, you get a dog that has a record of biting people, and then you're surprised when the dog bites people. That's basically what it came down to for the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, true or false time. We'll get there eventually. And we played all that, and we've had this discussion because the first topic for true or false is this. True or false, Tom Coughlin is done working for any NFL team.
Oh, I would say false because doesn't it seem like Tom Coughlin will get that sweetheart coaching search, captain of the coaching search that teams do that I love whenever they're like, hey, we're going to put together a group to try to find our next head coach. We're going to bring in Ernie Accorsi and Tom Coughlin and pay them $1 million to go find one of their friends. And whoops, we
friends or family members.
Yeah, we just hired John Fox again. So he'll have some set up like that, right? Like a consulting. So not an official title, a long-term title, but I think he will be in and around some team as maybe a consultant.
Yeah, but usually it's former GMs that get those gigs. They don't hire former coaches to be the consultants, and they shouldn't hire former coaches to be the VP of football operations because you can't expect a guy who's been a coach for decades to quit acting like a coach. And that was the other problem. Whether it's Bill Parcells, Mike Holmgren, who had that gig in Cleveland for a while, or Coughlin, a guy who's coached for years and years and years and years is now supervising the coach. He's going to want to second-guess the coach. He's going to want to micromanage the team because he's fundamentally a coach. I think he's done. I think he's going to retire, and I think he's going to walk away, although it would be nice if there was someone. The fact that he did not get to leave on his own terms could make him inclined to try to have some sort of final act that goes better than Jacksonville, but I just don't think he's going to have the opportunity. I think the way it went in Jacksonville is going to keep other teams from having anything to do with Tom Coughlin. All right, true or false? Carson Wentz is the best quarterback right now in the NFC East.
Ooh, with Dak injury is what we're saying? I'm going to say, oh, man. I'm going to say true. I'm going to say true because Carson Wentz, I think if he had the same type of guys around him that Dak Prescott has, I think we'd be talking about a very different Carson Wentz. He has had a completely ravaged offensive line, weapons. He's throwing to Greg Ward, and I don't even know what the other guy's name is. They're like creative players in Madden at this point. So if you're Carson Wentz, there's not much you can do other than get out there and give it your best. And I would still, if you gave apples to apples, and they both had the exact same skill positions around them, I'd take Carson Wentz over Dak Prescott.
Hey, and I've said this recently, and I know you're going to disagree with me because Jared Goff is one of your friends, but if you put Carson Wentz on the Rams and Jared Goff on the Eagles, the Rams would be in the mix for the 1 seed right now, and the Eagles would be 4-12, or on the path to 4-12.
I think a really mean thing to say.
But it's the truth. It's the truth. All right. I agree. Right now, Carson Wentz is the best quarterback in the NFC East because of the Dak Prescott shoulder injury, and I'm very concerned about what that means for the Cowboys on Sunday. They're saying all the right things, as we would expect them to. What are they going to do, come out and say we're screwed? Of course they're going to say all the right things. Let's see how he plays when it's time to get rolling late afternoon on Sunday. True or false? It will be harder for Mitchell Trubisky to score on the Chiefs than it will be for Patrick Mahomes to score on the Bears on Sunday Night Football on NBC.
I'd say true. I said it in the segment before, but the Chiefs' defense has been a lot better, and I think that they, last year the Chiefs' defense, it felt like it wasn't a question of if, just when it would fall apart, and you would see it, even in the AFC Championship game when the Patriots were converting those 3rd and 10s, and it was essentially the same play over the middle to Julian Edelman every single time. This Chiefs defense has a little more edge. They have a little more playmakers, and they can get to the quarterback more. So I think that it's going to be not easy for Mitch Trubisky. It's not the Chiefs defense from last year when they play on Sunday night.
Here's the thing about the Chiefs defense. Over the last 4 games, all victories by the Chiefs. And I agree with what you said earlier. We aren't paying attention to the Chiefs the way we should. We kind of wrote them off during the Patrick Mahomes injury and when they lost at home to the Colts and Texans in back-to-back weeks. They are a dangerous team heading into the postseason. They are the one team in the AFC that I would give a very good shot at beating the Ravens in the postseason. And Mahomes told me after that game last week when they only allowed 3 points to the Broncos in the snow, the defense has a swagger now. Tyrann Mathieu at practice, Frank Clark at practice, Chris Jones at practice. Mahomes senses it. He senses it on game days. They have that. And we said before the season, the Chiefs' defense just needs to get a little bit better. And early in the year, it looked like it was a little bit worse, but it's come around. And they are better than they were last year, and I think it's going to make it harder for Trubisky to score, and it's going to make it harder for anybody to score on the Chiefs when they play in the postseason. Do you agree with my assessment that the Chiefs are the first team you would think of in the AFC that has a shot at taking down the Ravens if they cross paths in January?
Yes. They are the forgotten team. You did kind of just steal that from me in the same show. But yes, I would say so.
I've been saying it all week.
I don't trust the Texans on the road. And actually, no, I'm going to throw that out. I'm going to still take the Patriots second time for Bill Belichick.
Because he's going to have this special, he's going to somehow solve Lamar Jackson.
Mike, I'm not saying he's going to solve Lamar Jackson, but we have spoken about this. What has Bill Belichick done? What are the pelts on the wall? The K-gun, the Rams' greatest show on turf. If there's one guy in the world who can figure out how to game plan against what we are seeing with the Baltimore Ravens and how great they have been, I would take Bill Belichick. So, the Chiefs could maybe win a shootout with the Ravens, but if you had to ask me if I had to put my life on one team to beat the Ravens, I think it's still the Patriots.
When you say pelts on the wall, it reminds me of the first time that phrase came up when Sims was on the show, and he was very confused because he thought the phrase was pellets on the wall, and he had no idea what that meant.
Well, Chris Sims doesn't have Drew Brees in his top 10, so he went. I thought Chris Sims.
He's got him at 10, 9 or 10.
Okay. I had a little heart palpitation on whatever day it was because I thought maybe he had passed away because he was trending on Twitter. No, he was trending on Twitter just for his Drew Brees slander.
True or false, Ryan Tannehill versus Drew Brees is the best quarterback matchup of the week?
Ooh, that is tough. I'd say, you know what? If we're doing present tense, Ryan Tannehill 2019, sure, why not? Let's throw this in there. I still would probably actually, if we're doing present tense, it might be your boy, Mike. It might be Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers, right? Because both those guys, Aaron Rodgers hasn't had a great statistical year, but if you still had to put your money on a quarterback, he's up there, and Kirk Cousins has had a great statistical year. So it's either this one or the Monday night game. I'm going to actually go false, so switch it up for me. False.
I still think Deshaun Watson and Jameis Winston is the most fascinating matchup, but maybe because of the injuries to the Buccaneers receivers, that takes enough away from it. Look, Tannehill and Brees playing outdoors. This is a huge game for both teams. Titans still trying to get into the playoff mix, and they'll know by Sunday whether or not the Texans lost to the Buccaneers. If the Texans lose, it's a much bigger game for the Titans because their path to the division is more clear. And the Saints have that path to the number 1 seed, and they're going outdoors after a huge win. This is a Saints team that has not been blowing people out. Can they continue to play like they did on Monday night, or is it just one of those nights where everything lined up perfectly for Drew Brees and the Saints, and they won't be able to replicate it, especially outdoors? I think there was a 53% chance of rain for Nashville when I checked it yesterday. If it rains, if it's a little cold, it's a different vibe altogether for the Saints. But it should be a great game. I don't know this. I'll go false as well. Whether it's Vikings-Packers with Rodgers and Cousins, whether it's the game on Sunday, whether it's Trubisky and Mahomes on Sunday night, who knows? But I think that there are better quarterback matchups this week.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.